And Apple is now saying it is not tracking iPhone users, never has, never will. Company says the phone is just keeping a list of Wi-Fi hotspots and cell phone tower locations so the phone can figure out its location. Apple also says it cannot track you down based on this data. Company says it's going to fix a problem with its location services option. All of this part of the response to the public outcry, recent reports. Our next guest says companies should be allowed to collect some personal data, but he's worried about how they're using it. We're joined now by Marc Rotenberg of the Electronic Privacy Information Center. Marc, welcome to InBusiness. Are you satisfied with Apple's statement today?
Well, I am actually. The announcement is a little bit surprising. I think they are keeping location data, and the statement is a little misleading on that point. At the same time, what they decided to do was exactly what we asked them to do, which was to reduce that file that's on the user's phone that does have the location data. They're now going to limit that just to the past week. It had been a year, and they're not going to transfer the information to the user's computer, and they're also going to delete the file when people turn off location services. So I actually think they've done a lot of good things today, even though I don't quite agree with what they've said.
You don't agree with how they've characterized the gathering of information?
They don't want to concede that they were keeping location data, and what they're saying is that instead of keeping the location of the actual device, they're keeping the location of the nearby cell towers and Wi-Fi hotspots. But of course, that's exactly how they determine the location of the device. They triangulate on that information and provide location information on the device. So I think they're not telling quite the full story there. But I think the better news, as I said, is what they've actually decided to do. And they've taken the right steps here. They've addressed the privacy and security concerns.
Well, in point 9 on their press release, they do acknowledge that if you opt into certain advertising systems, like ask on targeted ads for the most local store to you, that they do, in fact, share with third parties your locations and some of that data. But that putting the emphasis on it's your decision as a customer.
Well, I think Apple actually did a good job with the initial rollout when they said they were going to give users control over the disclosure of locational data to app developers. That was well done on their part. I think where they ran into trouble was when they realized that they were storing data on the device that users didn't know about. That's been the issue this past week.
And the issue in the past week was this idea that somehow there's a master database that, Apple's holding on to and dangerous information's being stored. How different is this situation from, say, what a typical cell phone customer pre-smartphone would be sharing? I mean, the telephone company would still have the records of who you spoke to and where they were, what their phone number was. A court could request that information. The company certainly knew. What's so different with this?
Well, the big change, of course, is this tremendous collection of locational data, the ability to pinpoint users in real time. Sometimes that can be a great thing. It can be a great thing if you want a nearby restaurant recommendation. It can also be an important thing if you're in an emergency situation and you call 911.
Certainly.
So locational data has use. But then there's questions about what happens when it's just being stored on the device. Does that create a privacy risk for the user?